Without giving it too much thought, where do you think that salt comes from? Because for me, I kind of had this image of those ice picker guys from Frozen, but with salt. It turns out I wasn't too far off, but that's actually just one of the ways that salt is harvested. The other way is by harvesting salt from the saltiest place that you can think of. No, not the bucket of tears that you've been collecting from cutting onions like we all have. The saltiest place is, of course, the sea. But finding out about these two different ways of harvesting salt sent me down quite a rabbit hole. So I'm just going to take you down that rabbit hole with me. I hope that's okay. So it turns out there are tons of different types of salt, which are each processed in a slightly different way to create something different and make it taste more or less salty. And one second. And recently I got given this book, Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, by Samin Nosrat, and unsurprisingly there is an entire section about salt. And there's this useful illustration of a few different main types of salt. So there's fleur de sel, sea salt, Maldon, sel gris, kosher, and table. And as you can see, each one has a very different structure and a different shape, and that shape actually has a big effect on our perception of the taste. And each different type has a higher or lower concentration of salt, of sodium chloride, and the table salt is actually the most concentrated one. It's actually kind of square shaped, so this is the most uniform shape, so it's actually also a lot easier to pick up a lot more in a spoon. So you're going to get a higher concentration just of grains as well. Grains? Granules as well. So table salt is the most concentrated salt, but it also has iodine and sugar in it usually. Now neither of those things are bad for you. In fact, the iodine was added because of an iodine deficiency in the early 1900s, but it does just mean that you're going to be adding iodine and sugar, you know, to other ingredients to a dish where you just thought that you were adding salt. Of course, there are tons of different types of salts all throughout the world, including things like, you know, Himalayan pink salt and other kinds of rock salt. But today we're just going to be talking about sea salt, and there are actually a few different types of sea salt even within that, so you can see we're getting further and further down the rabbit hole. And I'm not going to talk about all the different types of salt because we would be here forever, but if you do want to learn a little bit more about them, I definitely recommend this book, but I will warn you, it is huge, so it is a little bit of an investment. So Cassandra, why did you end up down this rabbit hole in the first place? I hear you ponder from across the internet. Well, sadly, it's not because of my ingenious cooking prowess. I was not in the kitchen tasting different salts and thinking they tasted different. These salts taste different. No, the reason I went down this rabbit hole is because I went on holiday to Ishigaki. Ishigaki is one of Japan's most southern islands, and in fact it's so far south that it's closer to Taiwan than it is to where I live. But because it's this nice small island surrounded by the sea, then obviously it has great access to the sea water. And it also has really good weather, which makes it great for salt production. And here on this beautiful island is where you can find Tokusan. He owns a place called Ishigaki Salt, which is where they're making salt in the most natural way possible. Here they've been making salt for around 300 years, so I think they know what they're doing. But they really focus on making everything as natural and as tasty as possible. But on this beautiful island surrounded by beautiful blue skies, beautiful blue sea, one of the first things that Tokusan had me do was taste the seawater. Now, if you've ever been to the beach and accidentally swallowed seawater, which I'm sure most of you have, then you'll understand my reservation. But who am I to say no to this salt expert, so I went ahead and did it anyway. So you might think that this less salty seawater would not be very good for making salt, because surely you want more salt in there so that you have a higher yield. But apparently, according to the experts, having this less salty seawater is exactly what makes it taste better.
森のエッセンスが流れてくる。なので海の塩分ちょっと下がります。海の中何が生きてる？
サンゴ？
そうですね、サンゴ。ミネラルの生き物なんです。森の栄養分が 10%、サンゴの海の成分が 10%、成分が2割から3割、しょっぱい味が少ない。
So at Ishigaki Salt, they take this softly salty seawater and run it through a series of pipes and then collect it in this vat. Then in this vat, the salt water is heated, making it into a more concentrated solution. At this point, everything is still in there, including a number of bitter minerals. So this bitter liquid can actually be used for making tofu, and it's called nigari, which comes from the word nigai in Japanese, which means bitter. But from there are two ways that Ishigaki Salt then processes the salt. One is via heating it manually, and one is through the heat of the sun. So at this point, there are different ways to remove those bitter minerals and get to that pure sodium chloride. But here at Ishigaki Salt, they keep all of those minerals in because they want it to be as natural and as good for you as possible. And you can see that natural method in everything that they do at Ishigaki Salt. Their employees are encouraged to go down to the beach every morning to wash away their stresses so that it doesn't enter the salt. That is such an amazing way to start your workday. But they're also completely at the mercy of nature too, because the way that the salt tastes and the way that it ends up is really dictated by the time of the year, the time of the day, the tides, and you'll see just how different they are in a minute. But despite all of this focus on natural methods and nature, then they're still very careful about keeping everything very clean. And this is something that I even saw in action whilst I was there. They're very carefully going through each pile of salt to make sure that nothing unwanted is in there. Because actually Ishigaki Salt has had a few clients where they've gone and got salt from elsewhere and they've found that it's had things like bird poop in it. Because at other places then the salt is made on these big wide plains, so they're at the mercy of nature in quite a different way. But I mentioned that Ishigaki Salt makes their salt in two different ways. So one of these is in these vats that are left out in the sun, and another is in this greenhouse that gets to over 60 degrees Celsius. But the sun version takes around 8 years to make. So you're probably wondering, why on earth would you bother making that salt if you can just get the same thing a lot quicker with the heated version? Well, apparently according to Ishigaki Salt, the answer is in the taste. So Toku-san challenged me to see if I could taste the difference. I always dread these kind of tasting challenges because I feel like I'm going to say the completely wrong thing, but I guess I didn't do too badly.
日本人の職人さんはこうやってやるの。同じ海水なんだけど、太陽だけで乾かして生まれてくる塩と火を使って生まれてくるお塩で味が変わるってことをまず知ってほしい。で、まず味を覚えておく。日本のお米、おにぎりだったらどっちが向いてると思う？
ちょっと柔らかいから、そういうおにぎりが柔らかいイメージなの。
答えは正解。1番目なんですよ。土のもの思い出してほしい。人参、じゃがいも。じゃあ2番目。肉。はい。生き物はちょっと味を思い出してほしいんだけど。
うまみ？
そう、うまみですよね。ここがうまみと甘みの違いね。
So even though both of these salts came from the same seawater, treating them differently resulted in a different flavour profile for each of them. But now I was curious to see what difference the tides made. So of course, as I always do when I visit these kind of places, I had to buy some to try out myself. And I was really taken in by the cool and mysterious packaging of full moon and new moon salt. Or maybe just the inner Stephanie Meyer fangirl in me is coming out. So I bought it to compare it against my regular sea salt that I got from the supermarket. This is gonna be salty. First one is just the normal sea salt. Oh, okay. There's just like this weird punch that is just really not very enjoyable. So this is the full moon one. Oh, that one's quite a lot more bitter, but it's still kind of soft actually. And the new moon. It's much softer. I guess because it's harder, so it's taking longer to dissolve, so it's a kind of more rounded saltiness. Yeah, and then even crunching this one is pretty soft. It's a slightly sweeter salt. I think this one is my favorite. But despite all these differences and nuances, then the only place that you're really going to taste that difference is when it's sprinkled on top of something or when it's in a milder or more plain dish. So am I going to swap out all of my salt for Ishigaki salt? Well, no, because that would be a waste of the time and effort that it takes to make these small batches. But instead, I am going to be more mindful about how I use my salt. So if I'm making pasta, then I can use that supermarket sea salt for my pasta water. But if I'm making a salad or meat, then I'm going to use that Ishigaki salt. So I hope you learned a little bit about one of the types of salt that there are out there, but if you want to continue your learning journey, then I do highly recommend these two books. They have a section about salt in them, but they also have amazing information about cooking and the science of cooking and all of that. But they are huge, so I will put the links in the description below, but it is up to you if you want to get them. And I want to say a huge thank you to Ishigaki Salt for letting me visit, and thank you to you guys for watching through to the end. I'll see you next time.